and they made hundreds and hundreds of pounds of sugar. You can't believe how much sugar that they made. When you read some of the journals written by military people that were with us, white captives that later wrote about their experience with Indians, missionaries that spent time with us, would write about the month that they spent making sugar and the amount of sugar, hundreds of pounds of granulated maple sugar.
What would they store it in?
The maple sugar, you could just wrap it up and it won't spoil. Now syrup, you got to eat that in about 3 weeks or it'll spoil.
Wow.
So when they made syrup, they ate a lot of it. There was a white guy,
about that too, 'cause like ants
a white
in the
guy
summertime.
whose Indian name was Skuwa. He spent 6 years with the Shawnees in Ohio, and then later they let him just go back home. He said, "I think I'd like to go back home," and they captured him and kept him a prisoner for a while. Then he just kind of fit in, and they shaved his head and tattooed his face, and he just kind of fit in. And then after about 7 years, he said, "I think I'd like to go back home." And they said, you think anybody's still alive back there that you knew?" And his parents, or they killed his parents. And he said, "Well, I did have some relatives," and he said, "If I don't find anybody, I'll come back." And he was a pretty nice kid. He was 21 when they let him go, and he was owned by this old Indian that he had kind of helped out quite a bit. And that old Indian said, "Well, I'm probably not going to be alive much longer. So yeah, if you want to go, but if if things don't work out, you can always come back here to Ohio." And he was captured in Pennsylvania. He ended up going back home, and he did have some relatives, and he became a Methodist minister, and he wrote about, still had the tattoos on his face, but he wrote about his experience with the Indians, and he said, "I was actually lived better with the Indians than I was living before my parents were alive, and those Indians that adopted me were actually the second set of parents. The first set of parents he didn't really like, but the second set, there's a whole story about
What was his real name?
What's that?
What was his real English name?
Oh yeah, something real simple. James Smith, or John Smith. No.
No, that was the one that got taken by Powhatan.
Pocahontas deal. It was similar to that. Mike, have you ever read that book, Skuwa?
Yes.
Remember what his English name was? It was something real simple.
I don't.
My son would. But the book is called Skuwa.
Oh, okay.
I forget what I was saying. Oh, but anyways, he was saying about, in one little excerpt in the little book, he wrote a journal about the stuff that he did and saw or whatever, but he said in the month of, this was in Ohio, he said in the month of March, there were only 3 days that I ate nothing but sugar.
Oh, no.
So I just ate sugar. He said, "I ate nothing but sugar, except for 3 days."
I could have survived like that.
Yeah.
I have a sweet tooth. Yeah.